What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we're going to be talking all about ores. Now, some of you guys have maybe just started the game more recently, but ores have been in the game for almost 2 years now. And in that time frame, Plarium has not allowed us to basically get too many of them. So they're still pretty rare, exclusive item. You can get them here from the clan shop. You can buy them here. That was probably one of the biggest influxes of 6-star legendary chaos ores. You can also pick them up from various events. It seems like Plarium has been dropping them a little bit more frequently in like artifacts enhancement events. For example, you do see some of the epic ones landing in some spots as well. You can see a 6-star chaos ore here and a 6-star chaos ore here. Another area for chaos ore actually comes from the Curse City, so you will see them in some of the hard mode stages. They are still considered pretty high value pieces, so they will be in some of the higher level stages. What I'm trying to highlight here is that they're still pretty rare and they're still not super readily available. So what is the best way to use these rare resources? In this video, I'm going to show you guys a couple pointers that I use for myself, as well as some tips. Hopefully it will be helpful for you guys and you guys can incorporate it into your own gameplay. All right, so let's jump into my account here and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So basically what you want to do is have the ores here. So these are the ores. They're going to be here during the rolling stage of your pieces of gear in the rework tab. When you use these chaos ores, the main stat, which is this yellow text here, as well as all the other stats, substats, will be changed. I highly recommend you do not use higher rarity ores on lower rarity gears. For example, this legendary piece, I would never use a mythical ore on it, for example, and you would never use a legendary ore on a epic piece, for example. Similar to how you would never use legendary books to book out epics. Now, the best way to think about ores is basically think of them as an extra piece of gear, basically the gear that you will be using it on. So what kind of gear do you use ores on? So I want to make sure that this is important for you guys because it depends on where you are in the game, what your progress of your account is, because some people have hard set rules about where they use ores. Some people say use them on the most exclusive sets. Other people say use them on any set that has the appropriate rolls. But what you want to target is pieces with triple or quadruple rolls in the substats. So for example, this glove here, for example, has a triple roll in crit rate. Now, a piece like this with a triple or a quad roll means that it has the chance to roll into a stat that is more desirable, for example. So at its basic levels, you want to basically roll a piece of gear that is really bad with a triple or a quadruple roll and then hope that that quadruple or quadruple roll turns into something good. So that is basically the general idea on how to use it. So where would you want to use it and what sets do you want to use it? Ideally, you would want to use it on the top row pieces, which is the weapon, helm, and shield. These are called top row pieces. What works for these ones is basically these pieces never change the main stat here. They never change the main stat even if you roll them, so only the substats change. This improves the consistency of the piece, making the piece more usable. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to get good substats or you're going to hit the roll in the desired place that you want it, but it means that the piece in the set has a more potential to be more usable. But if you're only looking for one stat, then it doesn't really matter what the main stat is, for example. So let's take a look at these speed pieces here. So for example, this speed piece here has a triple roll in resistance. Usually you don't think about a resistance piece in the speed set. So you usually think about speed set in a speed set or a speed stat in a speed set. So what you want to do here is, I hit a triple on a stat that's not desired, which is speed. So I'm going to go for the rework here and then use my ore. And then all the substats would roll and then you hopefully get triple speed landing right here. For me, this piece is a bit of a special piece because I have lots of triple roll pieces. But for this piece, I want to hold it as is for now. Usually your ore pieces, you want to get speed on them. Occasionally you want crit rate, for example, and occasionally you want to basically ore pieces so that you can have a usable piece for a set. Now you might do that more often with accessories. So with accessories, you might be looking for, like, for example, like a crit damage, merciless amulet. You don't have one. So using an ore on an amulet just to try to get crit damage makes a lot of sense. That is highly recommended. Same thing goes for the banner. Trying to get the accuracy banner, trying to get whatever main stat banner you're looking for is also very, very recommended. Now this applies to basically sets that are more rare. For kind of generic pieces here, if you get multiple rolls in the banner slot and you're just looking for speed, if you're looking to ore for speed, then you don't really care what the main stat is because you're just looking for speed. So for example, I have this stone skin banner here for Shadowkin. It's not a good banner, but the reason why I hold on to pieces like this is for opportunities like this. Basically, you roll it up, you try to get a triple or a quadruple on your piece, and now you have a candidate for a re-roll with the ore. So here, we already re-rolled it and we didn't get the speed, so this one's gonna go unless we need a no speed accuracy banner in a stone skin set. Again, because it is a stone skin piece, it's the only accuracy banner I have. I'm just going to hold on to it out of scarcity's sake. So here's an example of a piece that I've held on to that could be ored. So I have a reaction piece. So reaction is a set that you can only get from CVC. So it's pretty limited, but of course CVC has been in the game for a couple years now. So I've amassed quite a bit of reaction pieces. But this is an orc banner and we got triple speed here. It's not a great banner by any means, and I can re-roll it with the ore if I wanted to because I'm looking for speed. The speed roll, if you're looking for speed only on the banner, is the highest opportunity percentage of landing your desired roll on the banner. So the banner actually makes the most sense if you're looking at it purely from a odds standpoint. The next best pieces to roll in terms of odds are actually the top row pieces. So if you're just looking for one stat, usually it's speed, and you're looking to hit that one stat on the ore, the best odds are banner and then your helmet, weapon, and then shield. And of course, you always want to prioritize sets that are, less easy to obtain, especially if they're limited. So for example, merciless gear, and especially if you need the piece to complete, a build or the set bonus, then you have to have saving the ores for those sets. So for example, this piece here, merciless 5-piece, is attack. It has only this small speed here, but it has a quad roll in a flat defense. Now this one can definitely go for the ore, but it's also my only attack. It's my only attack banner, and I actually use this for my Trunda. So if I roll anything outside of attack, then my Trunda is going to be a lot weaker. So although I could use this and try to gamble, I'll probably do that after I pick up another attack banner. Now this is a good example of a 5-star piece that I would keep. So I don't keep a lot of 5-star pieces for my account anymore, but 5-star legendary, 5-star mythical pieces are actually worth trying to roll triples and quads on and then using ores on them. As you can clearly see, just from playing the game, I've amassed, extra 5-star ores. Lots of them here. So basically, I just don't have enough 5-star pieces of gear that I, use ores on. So having them available for, 5-star legendary or mythical pieces that roll triple or quad in these particular rare sets could be useful, right? So I definitely recommend you guys finding 5-star pieces of gear, 5-star legendary and mythical pieces, and then just rolling them up to triple and quads if you guys can do that, and then trying to hit it with the ores. It's actually, can yield some pretty decent results, but you're also just amassing those ores, pretty regularly, and so having a place to use them makes a lot of sense. Obviously, other sets that are really important, protection set, stone skin set, those are really, really good sets to use ores on just to fine tune some of your builds. The basic regular, accessories nowadays are definitely power crept. Obviously, if you roll like a quad or a triple in a dead stat, a substat here on a banner, then, take the ore and try to go for that speed, right? Try to boost the speed of your banners. That's a really, really good way. Going back to the regular gear here, you're not going to be using the ores on a lot of pieces of gear that you usually farm, because you don't get too many of these ores, or they're really expensive to get. You usually want to save them for really, really special sets. Or for example, lethal set. You only get to farm this once every 3 months if you're in that position to fully farm Dark Fae. So you're not going to get a lot of these pieces on a regular basis. So you're limited by crafts. So definitely save the ores for sets like this. Don't just use ores on pieces like perception. I think perception gear, like it's it's fine, and especially when you're early on, but you really want to save the ores for, quad pieces, for example. Ideally quad in a really bad roll, so you don't regret killing off like a piece that might have been usable, and then trying to gamble for, the desired set. So for example, let's say I had a piece like this where it had triple accuracy with speed, HP percentage here, and I was really looking for triple speed so that I can get my debuffers faster, for example. I would definitely not gamble an ore on this because it rolled into basically the best or second best substat, which is accuracy, and this is actually a very usable, good piece by itself. So make sure you guys evaluate the gear, evaluate your account progress to make sure that using the ore makes sense. Of course, you don't want to kill off a piece that might actually be useful to your account otherwise, but you also don't want to keep pieces around that will not benefit your account and you definitely want to gamble on. All right, guys, so I saved a couple examples here of basically things that I thought were perfect examples of what I'm talking about, and we'll do the rolling right here. So here I have a stone skin helmet. It's a legendary piece. It rolled quad crit damage. Now this is not a great piece by any means. It has resistance on it, it has speed, it has attack percentage. Like obviously you could kind of use it for maybe a stone skin damage dealer, maybe that just requires more crit damage, but a quad speed in this would be way more beneficial for me, for my account. So I'm really looking for speed on this quad roll here. So this is what we would do. We use one of our ores and then we just pray that we hit our, I believe it's 11 or 12% chance of hitting the speed substat roll here. So let's cross our fingers and try this piece out. If this fails, it can probably be most likely a dead piece. However, in its current state, it's pretty much a dead piece anyways for my account. So let's see what we get. Resistance. Okay, resistance. I mean, resistance. The original piece was a little bit better. Resistance can be okay. For example, I could use this on like UDK or something. Pretty high resistance. It is a quad roll resistance, so it's as high as it could be, but obviously not ideal. I was looking for speed. All right, guys, here's another example of a really nice piece. It's in a feral set. Feral set is the set you get from Siege, not something you can farm readily, right? So here we actually have a okay piece. Defense percentage is not particularly super, great for feral set, but it's not bad, and the rest of the substats are pretty good. You got speed and accuracy, which is what you want on the feral set, but of course we're looking for speed on this. Maybe accuracy would be okay. It's also on the mythical roll, the red font, which means it has the potential to roll a Quinn roll, which is basically 5 rolls on the base stat. So right now it's already has the 4 rolls on the base stat. This is equivalent to a regular quad roll on a legendary piece, but this is a mythical piece. It's only at 12. Now I recommend you guys sometimes roll your pieces to basically 12 first. Instead of rolling straight to 16, go to 12 first. And then if it's a ore candidate, meaning that the substats are bad and you're looking for, one stat in a good set, then use the ore on that piece, and then if it hits the desired stat, then roll it to 16. So at least you have a triple before committing to a quad and then doing the ore. Because if you use the ore on a 12 and it fails, at least you can save the silver. Whereas if you went from 12 to 16 and then you used the ore, you committed to the silver and now you have to throw the ore away as well. So here, if we don't roll speed or accuracy on this, maybe crit rate, but the rest of the substats would have to be really good. That's a prime candidate to be rolled up. All right, so carrying on what I was just saying about the piece rolling up to 12 and then using the ore, we have a similar situation here. We have a supersonic set with triple resistance. Obviously you want speed on this piece. It is a glove piece, so it's a little bit hard to get the desired roll that you're looking for, but we're looking for speed. Otherwise, this piece is just not very useful. It does have HP percentage main stat, but for a set like Supersonic, you're basically just looking for the substat, and it's usually going to be speed. The main stat doesn't really matter for most builds. So here we will be using the Chaos Ore here, and let's see what we can get. Hopefully we land speed. If we don't, it's probably going to be dead most of the time, but let's see what happens. Flat HP doesn't matter. Oh, accuracy. Oh, I was getting a little bit excited because no speed was popping up. It went resistance, crit rate, and then we had a really good chance of getting the speed, but instead we got accuracy. It's a worse piece than it was previously, but it's not a piece that I would use anyways. So this one would go straight in the bin. But that's kind of how it goes, right? So when you look at the ores in your stash, just look at them as extra pieces of gear that you are able to basically farm again. Here's another example of a top roll piece. We got a triple roll crit damage here. The piece is not very good. I would not use this piece on basically anybody. It does have crit damage here. Maybe if this was crit rate instead of flat defense, maybe it would be useful on a damage dealer with stone skin, but as it is right now, it's not going to be used. And now we are going for triple speed. We do have the epic ores here. So let's see if we can get lucky and we try to get the speed roll here. Keep in mind that when you guys are oring up your gear, if you guys have glyphs on them, the glyphs will be gone after you use the ore. So make sure you guys remember that. Let's see if we can get speed on this guy. Accuracy, flat defense percentage. So the piece basically goes from not used to bin. So that's pretty much exactly what it was kept around for that reroll opportunity, and that's it. Didn't work out, and in the bin it goes. So like I was saying, any kind of legendary or mythical piece, I would basically try to roll them up to 8. If they double up like this, for example, double HP roll, then I'll go to 12. And then if it triples up on the HP roll, now I know that I have a ore candidate, especially on a piece like this that's basically just junk. So in this case, it didn't triple up. It's going to be junked off. But that's kind of the strategy I go for the 5-star gear. For 6-star gear, same strategy. For example, I'm holding on to this glove here for mythical rolls. Obviously, we can try to roll it. It's not particularly great. It does have crit rate on it, and it doesn't roll particularly well. So most likely, it's just going to be junked off here. And we keep a 5-star mythical piece here. Again, looking for the 8 roll. See if we can double up, ideally on the red here. Maybe we can go for the double on the red. And we don't. So this glove is going to be instantly binned. Sometimes with the mythical roll, I like to take it up to 12 to see if we can double on the mythical roll, which basically is a triple roll. And obviously, ideally, you want to do this during artifact enhancement events. So here, this piece is basically just going to go into the bin right away. But instead of going right away, I roll it to 8. And we get a double roll on the crit rate here, hoping for a triple roll on the crit rate, and then we can ore it for speed. It doesn't go. Therefore, it's a sell. Now, you'd use this kind of strategy for basically all your gear, especially when you're starting out. If you're trying to progress through the game, you might want to, roll legendary pieces with speed stat on them and then hope for quad speed in any set. And that's going to be helpful for your speed lead or speed booster, for example. But you want to save your ores for some of the harder to get sets, or the sets that require certain pieces for builds, for example, like I was saying, like accuracy banners or crit damage amulets, for example. Here we have a mythical piece here. This piece is complete junk. Like if you looked at this, you would throw it away right away. But for me, I see potential gold here, and we try to roll it to 8, see if we can double up somewhere, maybe even land on the red roll. But in this case, it doesn't. It's going to be junk, no big deal. Now this piece here has the speed sub roll. We're going to try to land the rolls into the speed roll. It doesn't, and it's gone. But basically a piece like this, you could have multiple lives with it. You can land it on the speed roll, or you can land a double on some of the bad other sub rolls and then try to ore it. So then you have more, opportunities at getting something useful, right? So don't just throw away all your gear right away. And these are easy points for artifact enhancement events. So make sure you guys keep that all in mind. Here's something else that I want to mention to you guys, just in case you guys didn't know. Now this applies to basically sets, especially sets that you don't get a lot of pieces of. So for example, lethal gear, for example, like I said, you only farm it once every 3 months. Forge pass pieces, for example, those are really good candidates for this kind of strategy as well. But basically what happens is if you roll it to 12, you have the option to ascend the piece. So if you ascend the piece, you can get the ascension bonus. So I'm just going to use this piece because I'm going to roll it up anyways, but let's see what happens here. So in this case, it rolls defense percentage. Now, if you use an ore on this piece, the defense percentage ascension will stay here. So you potentially could roll this glove into defense percentage, and then it will still have the defense percentage here as well. Now, why is this important? It's really, really nice to be able to do this for crit damage gloves, for example. So if you ascend the glove, hit crit damage, and then use an ore on that piece and then try to roll for crit damage, you might get really, really lucky. And then that piece of gear might be useful to you regardless of what the substats are, because you rolled the main stat and you have the ascended stat proper. So in this case, we'll use the mythical ore here. We're hoping for triple speed, and then we're hoping to quad up there. Let's see what we get. Oh, it did roll defense percentage like I mentioned, but the piece is really bad. We're just going to get rid of it. But like I said, guys, defense percentage ascension, and then it rolled defense percentage after the ore. And then, you know, that's just really another way for you guys to get another crack at a piece of gear that you wouldn't otherwise. So I'm just going to sell this off. It's just a dead piece anyways, but hopefully that makes sense to you guys there. I was using that previously to roll pieces like, for example, I really wanted HP percentage gloves for stone skin in this, 6-star piece for the longest time. So in the beginning, I was keeping all my 6-star gloves, and then I would ascend them to HP percentage and then ore every single one of them to try to get HP percentage with the HP percentage ascended stat. And it definitely helped me pick up some of these pieces a lot earlier on, essentially saving me a lot of time. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully you guys can use that strategy in your, day-to-day. All right, guys, I think that's going to be it for the video. Hopefully everything in here made a little bit of sense to you guys. Hopefully you guys can take a little bit away from this video to help make your lives a bit easier. Now, I want to circle back to the point where we were talking about our account progress versus how and when we should use ores. So for example, if you're just starting out in the game, you're not going to have much pieces of these super rare sets. So I definitely recommend saving up your limited ores, because you're not going to be able to get too many of the ores on these limited sets. So it's really, really important, and especially those with the accessory pieces, because sometimes you can keep, for example, amulets like this, like really bad amulets with the attack main stat, right? These are attack main stat, but I basically keep these pieces just to have them around so that I can ore them and then use them for future builds to complete 9-piece sets, for example. So when you're starting out and you're trying to put all these big sets together, you just don't have too many pieces. So having these ores around definitely makes making builds a lot easier. Just something to keep in mind, guys. Obviously, if you have, a quad roll in a speed set, you want that speed substat roll, you gotta go for it. And ores come a lot easier as the game progresses for you. So don't think that they're, impossible to get. They're just not that often you get them. But at a certain point, you don't use them as much anymore. So you start kind of stacking them up a little bit as well. I think we'll end on that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate your time as always. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit here today in this video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Do you guys have any tips for me on how you guys manage your ores? Any strategies you guys have picked up along the way? Let me know in the comments. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Take care and have a good day. And I'll see you guys in the next one.